Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into something fascinating. That feeling when a public image, one built on total trust, just completely falls apart.
Yeah, it's quite the case study.
We're doing a deep dive into the sources covering the very public, quite messy, and honestly surprisingly complex separation of this major content creator, the one everyone knew as the wife guy.
Right, and it's a perfect example of what happens when personal betrayal gets tangled up with, well, a business model.
Exactly. Our sources really detail the breakdown of that carefully built image, the affair that kicked it all off, and this kind of baffling situation they're in now, separated, but still deeply connected.
It's definitely not straightforward.
So our mission today isn't just to rehash the gossip. We want to pull out the key insights here about accountability, about how hard it is to live up to a public persona, and what this really unusual post-marriage setup actually looks like for them.
And that last point, I think, is key. What we saw across the analysis is that if your entire brand is basically being virtuous, then a failure isn't just personal. It becomes this huge, almost exponential betrayal of the trust people put in you.
Okay, let's start there with the devotion brand itself.
Yeah.
Before 2022, this guy was like the absolute gold standard for relationship content online.
Totally. His whole identity, his income stream really, was tied to loyalty, family, marriage. He was, as one reporter put it, the picture of devotion.
The guy everyone pointed to as the one who really adored his wife.
Yeah, and what's interesting is how much the audience believed in it. It wasn't just watching videos. People felt like they were investing in the moral story he was telling.
That trust, that projected faithfulness, it fueled everything. Sponsorships, engagement, a whole media company, basically.
Absolutely. It was the bedrock.
Which is why the 2022 news hit so hard. It just landed like a bomb. The truth came out, he'd had an affair.
And not just any affair, but with someone working on his production team. It felt very close to home.
Right. It wasn't some abstract thing. It was a specific violation that struck right at the heart of the marriage and the business at the same time.
And the fallout, like you said, was swift.
Yeah.
And pretty total.
Yeah, he was basically kicked out of his own project, vanished from public view, said he was going to therapy, needed time, promised redemption down the line.
But the collapse was so complete because the brand was the fidelity.
Mm.
If you'd made a bad business deal, that's one thing. Damaging, sure.
This was different.
This was a moral failure, according to brand promise, so the whole thing just dissolved.
It's that irony, isn't it? Building a career on being open and honest, then getting taken down by a huge secret. The public reaction was intense, brutal even.
Well, our research suggests a lot of that reaction came from people feeling like they'd been tricked, duped. And that's a really strong emotion, especially for consumers.
It wasn't just he cheated.
No, it was more like he sold us this perfect life, made us believe it was attainable, and it was actually a lie. That feeling of being personally invested, I think, is what really amplified the anger. The betrayal felt personal, even to strangers.
So after that initial explosion, things went quiet for a while. But the rumors didn't stop. For years, people were wondering.
Oh, yeah, constant speculation. Were they trying to fix it? Were they in couples therapy? Was this the long road back? Or just delaying the inevitable divorce?
Some sources were saying they were trying to figure out boundaries, maybe salvage something.
But the public wanted a clean answer. Either get back together fully or split up completely. People don't seem to like ambiguity in these situations.
And then came the big reveal, the turning point. He announced it on the first episode of his new podcast, this big comeback attempt.
And the really striking part, he did it sitting right next to her, his life partner, as they put it.
That's where it gets really complex, isn't it? They laid out their status, and it's just full of contradictions.
Totally.
Yeah.
They said, okay, we're not romantically involved anymore.
You live in separate places.
We call ourselves separated. Straightforward enough, maybe?
But then come the big exceptions. The sources really emphasize this part. They are still co-parents. Actively.
They still travel together as a family.
They have this deeply, intentionally intertwined life. It's not just being friendly exes, it's something else. A shared ecosystem.
Which brings up the big question. What is this gray space they're living in? Legally, it's fuzzy. Socially, it's confusing for people.
Right.
It seems like they've built this structure where they get the emotional distance of not being married, but keep the history, the stability for the kids, maybe even professional time.
Is it just a really long pause before divorce papers get filed?
Have they actually managed to redefine what a long-term partnership looks like after the romance is gone? That's the million-dollar question.
The sources seem to suggest they're very deliberately creating this complicated path, something the public usually doesn't allow, right?
Yeah.
We want the big, dramatic finale,
We do. We want clear endings. But they've chosen complexity, shared infrastructure, maybe over a clean break.
which, when you think about it,
It makes a certain kind of sense.
Mhm.
The emotional and logistical nightmare of completely untangling a life built together, especially with kids and a business involved, it's immense.
so this separated, not divorced thing, maybe it's a pragmatic, if painful, solution.
Arguably, yes, to a
Yes.
situation that maybe has no easy answers.
But then you hear from her, and the emotional side cuts right through all that structural stuff. It's incredibly clear.
Absolutely. Reporters noted when she was asked straight up about forgiving him for the affair, her answer was just no, unequivocal.
That no feels really significant.
It does. It feels like the anchor point in her narrative. She
Yeah.
makes it clear this wasn't just breaking a rule in their marriage. It shattered her sense of self, her feeling of safety in the world they'd built.
Like the like she thought she had was based on a lie.
Exactly. A profound sense of deception about her own reality.
And yet, here's the paradox. Even with that absolute refusal to forgive the act of betrayal. Right.
She talks about the strange symmetry of what they built. She finds ways to keep him in her life, specifically for the kids, she says, and the shared history.
It's like she's choosing shared function over getting personal closure, which is wow.
That sounds like the ultimate co-parenting decision, maybe,
Yeah.
realizing that a clean break isn't actually clean when lives are that tangled.
Yeah, the emotional cost of trying to erase everything might just be too high for everyone involved, especially the children. So she's prioritizing keeping the family unit functioning, even if the romantic part is completely broken.
It's like setting boundaries around emotional access, not just legal status.
Precisely.
Okay, let's pivot back to him for a second. His public stance on rebuilding, what are the sources saying there?
Well, he's admitted the shame. He's talked about therapy, about needing to dismantle that whole wife guy persona he created.
Right, he said he hopes this next phase is about confronting the past, not justifying it, which sounds good on paper. It does. That public owning of it, the accountability piece, it's absolutely necessary if you want any chance of coming back into public life after something like this.
But
But this is where we, as people listening, have to try and figure out what's genuine remorse and what might be, well, strategic PR.
Yeah.
Performative accountability.
And the sources immediately give us a reason to ask that question, don't they? Because right after this public reentry, this seemingly raw talk about shame.
Speculation flares up again,
Yeah.
instantly.
Yep. Reporters see him out in LA with a quote-unquote mystery woman.
Seen chatting for hours at a bar, standing close. Though, to be fair, the accounts say no public displays of affection.
But the timing, that's what the sources jump on. It feels, and this is a quote from one piece, too perfectly aligned with his comeback narrative.
Right. Like, okay, finish the public apology tour,
Yeah.
wipe the slate clean,
Yeah.
and boom, signaling a new chapter is beginning.
So is this just the messy reality of a newly single person moving on? Which is perfectly normal.
Or is the public confrontation of shame just a necessary performance? A kind of public cleansing ritual you have to go through before you can move on to the next phase without getting canceled immediately.
Especially when your audience felt so personally invested in your previous identity.
Exactly. You almost have to publicly address the failure before people will let you move forward.
So if we zoom out a bit, think about the creator economy, which is so much about image. What does this whole saga mean for you, the listener? Especially if you follow people who build their brands around being good people, around their personal virtue.
I mean, the story of the wife guy is really a stark warning, isn't it? About how incredibly fragile it is to monetize your private life.
Yeah.
When loyalty is your product, the price of moral failure isn't just embarrassment. It's the total collapse of your business. It just highlights the intense vulnerability creators have. Every personal choice becomes a potential business decision with real financial stakes.
And this whole situation leaves us, and you listening, with some really big questions that go way beyond just these two people. They touch on modern relationships in general.
Definitely. First, can two people actually redefine a deep relationship this way, without just pretending the past didn't happen or simply delaying divorce? They're really testing the boundaries of shared history versus romantic breakdown.
And second, her no on forgiveness. Is that forever? Or is it a boundary that's necessary right now but might shift? We don't know.
We don't. And maybe the biggest question for his future. Given the immediate speculation about his dating life right after his confession, can he ever really achieve genuine, non-performative redemption in the public eye?
Will people always be looking for the next slip up?
It feels like it. The sources definitely suggest this story is nowhere near over. They're challenging how we as a society think about scandal, about accountability, about what reconciliation even looks like.
We struggle with that gray space, don't we, between love and separation. We want the clear binary divorced or together.
But their life right now is proof that reality is often much, much messier. They are living in that complexity.
So we went from this really clear, shocking betrayal
Right.
to this intentionally complex, deliberately intertwined separation. It's like a masterclass in living with constant structural nuance.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to chew on. Thinking about identity and performance, which are big themes in the source material. Consider this.
Okay.
In this age where we demand transparency from public figures, when someone does confront their past failures, when they open up about shame, are we, the audience, actually looking for real lasting change? Or are we maybe subconsciously just waiting for the next mistake, the next vulnerability, the next rumor, basically keeping the cycle of public interest and scrutiny turning over and over because maybe we need that drama, that narrative conflict,
Hmm.
that constant waiting, that intense scrutiny. Maybe that is the ultimate price you pay for building a career on public performance.